Dave Palumbo here for another RX Muscle news update. The Arnold Classic has let out. The final results are in. Nick Walker, man, did he clean up tonight. $130,000 for first place, plus the Best Poser Award. This guy is on fire. 2 wins in a row this year, going for his third at the Olympia, which he pretty much is saying, I'm going to win that too. He guaranteed victory here at the Arnold Classic a couple of weeks ago. A lot of people were a little disturbed by that, but he delivered. And man, was he fired up when Bob Chick asked him about that. He said, yeah, we brought it home. And that's confidence for you. You know, if you could back up your words, you know, then you can put those words out there all you want. And Nick delivered. He won unanimously. It looked like it was close after prejudging that it could have been maybe Steve Kuklo or Nick Walker. Steve Kuklo has to settle for third place here tonight. So Ian Valliere moves up a place. But let's talk about Nick Walker for a minute. He's the youngest guy in the lineup. He's got fresh muscle. He's got oodles of mass on his body. He's a little shorter than these other guys, but compact. And his waist is not the smallest waist, but he's got these really deep etched abs that when he hits these shots, these crab shots and Hans most muscular shots, his abs just pop out and you don't really notice that he's a little blocky at the waist. He's also super crazy wide for his height, so he has a good taper on his front double bicep and lat spread. So this guy's going to be dangerous at the Olympia. He just knocked off like the best guys in the lineup. I mean, what really would have been a great test for him is if William Bonac was here, who couldn't make it to this show and he was all our pre-show favorites because of some kind of, I don't know, COVID, travel restriction, quarantine. We don't really know what the real reason was yet, but he did not make it out. He will make it here, however, for the Olympia, from what I hear. That would have been a good test. But Nick Walker knocks off Ian Valliere, Steve Kuklo, Akeem Williams, Sergio Oliva, the whole lineup. I mean, he knocks off. And so those guys are behind him as far as he's concerned, and maybe as far as in reality. I don't know if these guys can pass him at the Olympia. Obviously, the Olympia is a different beast. You have bigger structured guys, taller guys. Will he get lost in the lineup? I don't know. Obviously, he still has to go against Big Ramy and Hadi Shupin and, of course, William Bonac at the Olympia. So that's going to be those are 3 very, very good guys that he's going to have his work cut out for him. He certainly looks to be a top 5 shoo-in at the Olympia after this convincing victory here at the Arnold Classic. And what a nice paycheck. This is a young guy. He just took home, pay your taxes, Nick, but he took home a lot of money. So that, it couldn't have been better. He had his parents up there on stage with him after he won, and all is well in the world, right? I mean, this is the night of Nick Walker. Steve Kuklo, Ian Valliere settled for second and third. Ian beat Steve earlier at the Texas Pro in the year, and it looked like Kuklo was going to be second here. And somehow the judges decided that maybe Kuklo got worse and Ian got better. I don't know. To me, they both looked about the same tonight. I really don't think either one of them looked any different. I think Ian might have filled out a little bit, maybe took my advice and had a couple cheeseburgers. And maybe that was enough. He has a lot of wow to his physique. I think both of those guys were not at their best, however. And had they been at their best, it might have been a different story, because those guys are big structured guys who have a lot of they take up and occupy a lot of space on stage. But they weren't in the best shape of their life. Ian was flat at prejudging. I think he still was a little flat at the night show. Very well conditioned. Steve, good conditioning, but his abs were kind of flat and they weren't really popping. And I don't think he filled out enough between prejudging and night show to really make a difference. I would have probably kept Kuklo in second. I don't think you can flip a coin on those guys. They're very well compared against each other because of their height and structures. They're similar. Steve has a little bit better in certain areas. Ian has a little bit better in other areas than him. And I guess they went for, Ian. Ian's got a little bit more wow on some of those side poses. So I don't know. Like I said, I could have flipped the coin on that one. My real guy who I was the most impressed with, and I think he was the dark horse tonight, was Justin Rodriguez, who settles for fourth here. Great conditioning. Major improvements. Every time we see him on stage, this guy gets better. I think he's going to be very dangerous next year. I think these guys better watch out. If he puts a few more another inch on his legs or so, and keeps improving on that back, he's going to be a guy that's going to be tough to beat. I'm telling you, he is only improving. I don't know how he's doing it, but he's making major improvements every single year we see him. Akeem Williams might be the disappointment of the show because I think a lot of people thought he was going to come in here and win this show, being the highest ranking Olympian out there. You know what? He looked flat, and he looked like he was getting smaller as the prejudging went on. He has very, very high lats, which are freaky when he hits a front lat spread from the front and when he hits the front double by. From the back, however, they're so high connected that there's a big gap between his lower lats and his waist, and it just makes it look like there's something missing in his physique. On the back double, it's not as apparent because he's got a lot of freak factor stuff going on. But on the lat spread, you see width, but his lats attach very high, and that's going to be an issue for him for the rest of his career. You can't really bring those lats down. Okay, he's just got to add more muscle to the middle of his back, so that it kind of balances off and makes it look freakier. But that's really the shortcoming. I think he was a little flat. Like I said, Akeem could have been a little harder maybe. But I'm not sure if it was a conditioning issue versus maybe just being flat. When you're flat, you could look like you're soft when you're really not. Because I saw pictures of him on his Instagram. He was really, really hard, a couple days out. I think he just somehow maybe flattened out, took too many diuretics, or maybe just didn't eat enough. And sometimes you get nervous, you don't eat, and your body goes right down. That, especially when you're big and you have a fast metabolism like that, it happens. It happens, a lot. I think Sergio Oliva Jr. might have been overlooked here a little bit. I could have probably put him up as high as 4th, although I really am very high on Justin Rodriguez. I thought Sergio made some major improvements. He looked huge. He looked just like his father. The guy has got a lot of mass. The arms and shoulders and pecs and his back. If he would have come in a pound or two harder, I think that we could have seen, I think he could have possibly even won the show. I think he has a lot of bells and whistles on his physique now that he just didn't have. He might have been a little bit, I think he needs to be a little harder. And I think that cost him a little bit because it kind of made his waist look like it might have been a little distended on certain shots. He looked like he was having trouble pulling it in on the side. So I think he has to bring his weight down a little bit. The size improvements are undeniable, but I think maybe he was just a little overfilled. But he did go home with the Best Poser Award, and I really enjoyed his routine. Sergio is one of the best entertainers in our business. He's great for the sport. He is I loved listening to Arnold's commentary of Sergio because Arnold was getting all excited watching Sergio hit his father's pose, especially that most muscular Sergio hits. It was like Arnold was back on stage with him. That's how it was, like a flashback for Arnold. He sees this guy on stage. It reminds him of Sergio when he competed. So once again, Sergio adds a lot of flair to the sport. Too bad he won't be at the Olympia. Obviously he had some problems earlier in the year. He missed a couple shows. He luckily got to do this show, but next year, hopefully, if all goes well, maybe we'll see him at the Arnold in March, because I think that he doesn't really need much more size at this point. It's just refinement, and I think he has the ability to win an Arnold Classic in him. There was a great Lifetime Achievement Award here given out to Ronnie Coleman, who gave a great speech. Obviously he's got the walkers he still uses because of his back injuries and all the surgeries he's had. And he was up there. He was very sharp. He gave a really good speech. And at the very end, he broke down, and no one knew why it took him a minute to collect himself almost. He couldn't get the words out. The tears were in his eyes, and he was all choked up. And he said, he basically said, "Mom, we got it." And, Ronnie was very close to his mother. And, his mom's not here anymore. And I think that, he wanted to let her know we won the Lifetime Achievement Award. That was a very important. And he said this was one of the most important things he's ever won. It meant a lot to him. He really loves coming to the Arnold. He comes every year. He feels that Arnold throws like the best show in the business. And so that was a very nice compliment to Arnold. And of course, Ronnie is he wears his emotions on his sleeve. He's so honest, and I think that honesty just, as a fan, you just get pulled into his whole aura, his whole world, and you can almost feel the emotion that he's feeling. So to me, that was a tremendous fun thing. In classic physique, we saw Terrence Ruff Diesel win. this guy is spectacular. And he beat a really good Alex Cabernero, but Rough Diesel has got some bells and whistles on his physique, man, that is just amazing. This guy is classic all the way. I remember when the classic division first came out, he was a lot smaller, and he first came. I said, this guy's going to be great if he could add some more size to his body. He is, he probably could have won the best poser too. I think they gave Logan Franklin the best poser, who, by the way, is a phenomenal poser, because they knew that Terrence was going to win the show. I think they kind of gave that to Logan as a consolation, because both of them had the best posing routines of the night. But you could easily have given Terrence also best poses. This guy understands body awareness and where he is in space so well that it gives you chills to watch him pose. And I think it was a well-deserved victory. Alex is good, and he's got a really tiny waist. He's got good shape and structure, but Terrence is just more complete as far as I'm concerned. And I think he's going to be difficult at the Olympia. Obviously Chris Bumstead is a force to be reckoned with, but I think Ruffin is I don't think anyone's going to beat this guy other than Chris Bumstead. I really don't. I think he's going to take up Ryan Ansley. He's got so much better over the last 2 years than he was. He's just not the same competitor anymore. So congratulations to him. Logan Franklin, what a great routine that was, man. Logan has basically studied Arnold's routine and basically duplicated it, okay, essentially. Pose for pose, maybe better than Arnold did it. I don't even know. He knows every pose and every little nuance and twist that Arnold does. Matter of fact, Cedric McMillan, who was doing the commentary, was amazed at it. And Cedric said, I tried to do Arnold's posing routine. I couldn't do it as well as Logan did it. So that was a really big compliment to Logan Franklin. So Logan is, once again, going to be another guy in this division for a long time that's going to be a top 5 Olympian. He's going to be very dangerous at the Olympia too. I'd like to see him come in a little harder. I think he could have been tighter here, and if he would have, his shape and structure would have looked better. But these guys are so good at this level that Logan, who alone looks like the winner, stands next to these guys, and they got a waist, that makes his waist not look as small as it does when he's alone. So I think the placings were right, with Terrence winning and Cabernero second. But, like I said, Logan will be back at the Olympia, and I think it's going to be, a very exciting, top 5 at the Classic Olympia. Winning Bikini was Jennifer Dory, who kind of upset Issa Pacini. I thought Jennifer looked great. I think she's going back to I actually like Lorelai Chapato's physique the best. She's got a little bit more freak factor, as far as the glutes and this and that. I mean, as far as Bikini goes. But I understand the look that they're looking for is Jennifer Dory, and so look for her to be dangerous at the Olympia. And Missy Truscott, who dedicated her routine and her win tonight to the memory of John Meadows, who was her coach, did a phenomenal routine. She's a 2-time Arnold Classic champ. She won it last year. She won it this year. She's defending her Olympia title in 2 weeks, and she beat Oksana Grishina. What could I say? Oksana Grishina did a kind of like a modified, Joker routine. It's sad that we all get old, but and can't do the things that we did when we were younger. Oksana's routine is still great. She's one of the best performers out there. I was not that impressed with her, and I'm a big fan of hers. It was not the wow factor that you expect to see from Oksana Grishina. They probably still gave her the first in the routine round, or maybe not. Maybe Missy Truscott, to me, had the best routine. I hate to say it, but she was better than Oksana. So Oksana might have got second in the routine. The problem with Oksana is she never gets placed well in the physique round, and so she's always making up ground by having to do well in the routine round. So I think Missy Truscott was the unanimous winner, tonight, and she's the new face of fitness, at this point, the new dominant face. I don't think anyone will touch her at the Olympia. I also just want to make note that I thought that Ariel Kadar's routine was excellent as well. It might have been the best routine of the night, but it was certainly top 2 in my book. I think it was better than Oksana's routine. So I know her personally. I've noticed that she's 15 years old. I want to just give her congratulations for that as well. So it was a great night. Obviously, Nick Walker is the man of the evening, and that's going to carry tremendous momentum going into the Olympia 2 weeks from now. Great job by Arnold and the Lormas and the whole production crew over there. And I want to thank my RX Muscle crew, Sid and Chris Aceto, who's out there doing the work on the ground. I'm just sitting kind of home taking care of the kids, sequestering myself. But It was a great weekend. I'm glad bodybuilding is back. I'm glad Arnold put that show on without having to cancel it. He said I had to have an Arnold Classic champion every year. I wasn't going to let this show die even if I had to hold it in my own backyard. That's a bodybuilder for life. I'm Dave Palumbo with an RX Muscle News Update.